I think we should pluralize that to pray for us.
Pray for Nigeria.
Pray for Nigerians. And, you know, at this particular time where, you know, in the Christian calendar, where we're at that solemn part of the year, you know, where we celebrate the death of Jesus Christ, his resurrection, and the message that salvation is here. About last week or so, the Muslims also had their fasting, their Ramadan. They broke their fast. It was also a month of, you know, sober reflections, prayers, and all that. You know, Nigeria is a multi religious country, so we must consider that as well. So, but you know. March and Easter is a time of prayer, and it is a time to look and reflect on what's going on in the country and really seek divine help, because we're a very religious country.
And beside that, you know, even now we are at a very critical juncture.
Yeah.
You know, in the country, you know, where all the things that we've been working towards, economic reforms and all those things, is just happening there, and then people having one experience
or the other,
you know, so really worrisome.
And so we're talking about the state of the nation this morning, and you know, as Aya had said, we're looking at the critical juncture where, you know, everybody's looking at how 2026 is a year where we, you know, consolidate on, you know, and all the economic gains that we've been looking for over the years. And Yakubu Dati, chairman of the Governing Council, Federal Polytechnic, Ayede, Oyo State, is going to join us virtually to talk about this, as well. Gbenga Adeoye, President, Egba Economic Summit, is also a lawyer and a chartered accountant. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us in the studios today, online.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Right, great. So let me start with you, Mr. Dati. Your thoughts really on the goings-ons in the country at this point, especially with all the security situation in the country. We do know that usually we talk about a stable country, security-wise, you know, bringing about stable investments, both local and foreign investments. But what are your thoughts on, in the last couple of months, the security situation and all other things that have been going on?
Yes, thank you very much. The security situation has been on a downward spiral for the past 2 decades or so. So through several administrations. But it is good to note that this administration has been able to confront the Hydra-headed issue frontally by ensuring that for the first time we have a coordinated security architecture that operates in unison, unlike in the past where the different arms, the police, the army, the navy, the Air Force were operating unilaterally, and that has been able to help to assist in the success in the war so far. I must also say that in Plateau State, which has been on the news just a few days ago on the issues of security challenges, we are happy. I'm speaking from just Plateau State, and we were happy that President Ahmed Bola Tinubu came to Jos to sympathize with the victims and to assure the citizenry, and also mobilize the security agencies to be able to take over and collaborate with what Governor Mutfwang of Plateau State is doing. And we are happy that he has approved about 5,000 CCTV camera to be put across the states, including just the Plateau State capital. Similar thing has been done in Lagos, I believe, and also one state in the east. So I believe matching the words with action will help to ameliorate the problem and show leadership as not only being talking back, but responsive. And I believe gradually the foreign direct investment, which we yearn for, will continue to flow into the country, especially with the reforms being put into by President Bola Tinubu in the area of reducing reforms in the economy, where businesses and entrepreneurs have more confidence in the system.
So before we go to Mr. Adie, please confirm, sir, you said you are in Jos right now. What's the temperature there like now? Because I spoke with someone the other day, about 2-3 days back, and who was saying that people are generally afraid, in fact, that a good number of people are told, stay at home if you don't really have to go anywhere. So there's according to that fellow, still a lot of fear in the air, and people are asked to stay at home, to not go anywhere, not even to defend themselves and all of that. What can you tell us about that? What's the temperature like, particularly looking at it from the people's perspective?
What I can say for sure is that following the outbreak about 3 days ago, of course, there was a curfew, which was a preemptive measure being imposed in the state by Governor Butfang, who also immediately went to the site of where this attack took place at Anwarukuba. And his presence went a long way in assuaging the fears and concern of people. That quickly was followed by the visit of Mr. President, which was preluded by a visit of the Army Chief and other security agencies who put their boots on ground. And that has restored a lot of confidence in the people. And as I speak here from Little Rayfield in Jos Plateau State, a lot of economic activities are picking up, and the security agencies are all everywhere assuring people that they are here to stay and ensure that whatever things that happen. Right now, what we're having is a bit of criminal upsurge of criminal activities, and those who want to take advantage of the situation to loot, and that has also been brought a nip in the bud by the security agencies. So gradually, Plateau is back to normalcy, and activities are going on. Like I said, I'm speaking from Jos. It shows outside of my house where you can hear a lot of activities that is going on.
Apologies again, Mr. Adoye. Before we come to you, Mr. Dati, before we, go to the other guests, just 24 hours after the president visited Jos and held a stakeholders meeting, another attack took place, I think, in Riom and one other community. I mean, what kind of message is that sending? Does that also bring about, more fear to the people of Plateau State that, regardless of the fact that the president himself came and there was a huge stakeholders, powerful stakeholders meeting, an attack still held shortly after the president left?
What is happening is the president elicited commitment from the key stakeholders who were there. We had about 3 former governors, and former National Assembly members, former security chiefs, all gave assurances. And we hope and see that in the next few days, this commitment will trickle down to the grassroots. And I believe that is why there are several attacks. The few attacks that are coming up are also being set in the board. We also heard of several arrests that were done yesterday in the Jos of the Plateau State, and several extermination of some of these miscreants who came to disturb the peace of the state. But there and then, we also believe that gradually things will come back to normalcy. Don't also forget that, like mentioned by one of the speakers, Right Honorable Ahmed Idris Wasi, the former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, we are approaching the rainy season, and that in itself creates another concern, because the issues of interrelationship between the herders and the farmers will also come up, which will also create this new set of problems. But the fact remains, and everybody knows, that Plateau was and has been under attack. But with the unity of purpose by leadership across all stands, we believe that this will bring an end to the scourge that has been bedevils the state for the past 2 decades.
There are those who have said that this was to be expected because it's a pre-election year.
Absolutely.
In fact, there's been a reference to the pre-2011 election and pre-2015 election that there is an upsurge of violence to make the government of the day look bad. And but the only challenge I like you to speak to that. But the only challenge that I now see is lives are being lost, property are being lost. Why?
Well,
No,
okay,
that's for Mr. Adeoye. That's for Mr. Adeoye, please.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Ayo. And I'm glad you asked this question in this manner. Now, yesterday, I conducted personally interview at Ikeja City Mall, and I spoke to 10 individuals. I have their names, and I asked them to recite the national anthem and win 1 million naira. And I meant it. And could you believe not a single one among them could recite the national anthem? Now, if you bring maybe 10 senators, 20 ministers, I'm not sure if I will see people that will win this 1 million. And that's where you start from. So there is a need for a new national orientation for Nigerians to become patriotic. Now, let's go back to what you have in the national anthem. That we are asking that God will help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. Now, what you can see in Plateau is the oppression of the people by certain unpatriotic individuals sponsoring armed bandits and using, guerrilla warfare method, appear here, strike people, go to that village, strike people. I can assure you, if the government want to tackle this matter properly, they need to identify the sponsors, they need to identify the source of weapons and deal with this matter holistically. And in Zamfara also, you find the people in the community as suppliers of food to bandits in the bush. The same thing applies in what you find in Jos. These human beings that are moving around to kill people, the people they kill did not actually offend them when you look at it. Those who allege that this is an attempt to make the government of the day look bad, they seem to be correct 80%, because you ask your question, why will you kill a fellow citizen? So it borders on patriotism. Those people engaging in killing citizens of Nigeria who are either politicians or making an attempt to show that the government is not doing anything, they are people we need to flush out. They are people we need to identify. But it begins by understanding the core values for our country. Just 3 segments of the national anthem is enough to change the heart of the people. If we understand, if we believe in it, and we behave in accordance with the words of the national anthem.
But then it's always towards political ends. That's the sense that people have communicated about this thing over time, Mr. Adeoye. And you also referenced it. In fact, your words are sounding like these people are known by certain elements in the country. So are we playing politics with people's lives? Is that what you're suggesting? That the people who know these things, they know what is happening, they know the people fomenting trouble, and yet they keep them in abeyance, or they just allow them to continue to have a field day?
Let me tell you, I'm a lawyer, and I'm also an expert in security architecture. I did criminology and security studies as well. There is no crime that can take place. In fact, the war you see between Israel, US, and Iran is not a war that Israel can win without intelligence gathering. What do I mean by that? People who are within Iran, who are spies for both US and Israel. That's why you see precision in attack. That's why you see movement of equipment, movement of resources, because there are people internally aiding this. And I can tell you 100% with assurance, and I know that Mr. President will agree with this, and I know the Minister of Defense will agree with this, that every attack you find in the Northeast, every attack you find in the Plateau, they are aided by certain persons who allow entry, who allow exit. Because those who shot people in Jos, they were not many. They didn't come as spirit from heaven. They move on the roads, some on cars, some on bikes. Are you telling me we cannot trace these people and capture them? The answer is no. Those who kill people in Kwara State, they came from somewhere. They passed through Niger to get into some of those villages, killing monarchs, killing the wife and children of traditional rulers. They passed through certain places. People saw them. Some people are even saying, please go ahead, just to rubbish the government. And like you know, this happened during Jonathan era as well. You hear people making comments on the ground that they will make the country ungovernable for someone who is on the seat. And I want to assume that that is what is happening right now in the country. So we need to speak to our people. Never aid criminality in your domain. Never allow someone who is a criminal to reside in your place. When you see strange movements, the people should rise up. And I heard someone from Jos say that when the community began to pursue these people, they were stopped somewhere. Because look, no matter the kind of weapon you are holding, when the people say no, no will be no, and you'll not be able to operate. But there are people who are unpatriotic that are assisting these people. Ayo, do you know where they sell bullets? Do you know where they sell AK-47? Can you access it? Do I know where they sell it? Can I access it? So, I mean, we all know.
But you know, Mr. Adeoye, I apologize, and I get the point that you're making, and I think a good number of people understand this as well. But this one question I'll ask you, and I'd like Mr. Dati to respond to it after you. These things mostly happen in the northern region of the country, be it the northwest, the northeast, the north central. The question is why? Who is after the north? A few days ago, I think it was sometime last week, we hosted a young man on our sister program who was saying that, look, there are certain people, we said it on live TV, that, you know, there are certain people who are trying to silence the Hausas in the north. And I'm wondering, how can you say that? I assume everyone will probably have thought that everyone in the north is Hausa. But then here we are, someone coming and saying that the Hausas are being marginalized in the country. So I'm asking that question, Mr. Adeoye, and Mr. Dati, you respond to it as well. Why the north?
Why the north? Very good question. The first thing, you will compare Lagos with certain states in the north. We must begin from the cradle. The people that are being used to commit crime are people whose lives have been bastardized from their birth. So the first thing we must do is to end oppression. And I'll go back to the national anthem, where you are talking of a place where all of us we live in peace and plenty. If there is no peace and plenty, the country cannot be blessed. Where anyone is oppressed, then the country will not move forward. You also take note that our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reigns. So where truth is not reigning, where there is no justice, then you should expect this. Now back directly to that.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely will get that together. I'm not sure if Mr. Dati is also there to listen to us now.
I'm there.
Yes. Okay. Yes, Mr. Dati, please.
I do not care
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Adeyeye. Go ahead.
about that child.
Yes.
So the person did not go to school. You now push them on the street to be almanjiris. And the northern leaders need to rise up about this and ensure that no one is oppressed anymore. Why will you not allow people to go to school, primary, secondary, or go and learn a trade or a craft after high school? So you have a ready-made hands available for crime, and that's why it is in the north. The second thing is that it is important to change the culture in the north towards the love of the people. So you don't sit somewhere as a big man and you are happy that hundreds of people will come to your house in the morning to beg for arms. When the arms is not being given, then ammunition will get into their hands. So it's pure and simple. The culture, there is a need for cultural reorientation in the north, and we need to begin to put adverts on radio, on billboards in various languages, Fufude, Hausa, Kanuri, all the languages, and begin to work within the people to say, look at that man there living in Abuja. He came from this village. He wouldn't have become this if he had remained as an almanjiri. Therefore, do not agree that your child, your son or daughter should live this life. There is a proverb in Yoruba that says, "Is an idle hand that's the devil's workshop." So this is a problem for the people. So I mean, I think we have a duty as a people to educate the people in the north and change the orientation. And I'm glad I listened to a northern leader who made a statement and said, look, Tinubu will not secure the north for us. We have Minister of Defense, you have this, you have that. What are you doing? And it's clear that certain elements in the north have encouraged people not to rise above penury. And once that happens, you will have them always available for criminal elements that will come from the neighboring border countries to unleash terror in the north. But when you fortify your borders with people who have work to do, who are well educated, who are well informed, there is less of deception that can enter into them. So basically, that's the simple truth.
Right. Mr. Yakubu Dati,
yes.
Your thoughts on this, especially this crucial question on why it seems to be that is, the northern region that's bearing the brunt of this insecurity, and, the comments by Mr. Adeyeye on this as well.
Well, to start with, we must also be careful not to fall under the narrative of changing the discussion from north to south than facing the hijacked attacks that we are facing from that the country is facing, be it north, south, west, be it from Boko Haram, bandits, be it from, we've had movements led by Sunday Igboho in the southwest, we've had Nnamdi Kanu in the southwest. So we have to look at things in the proper perspective. Why do these attacks or insurrection come up when elections are approaching? And those are the issues we should look at. Secondly, most importantly, is that the fact that the government is not looking at anti critics and people analyzing issues where they don't know to begin to look at solutions is what we should be focusing as a people. And that is why there's a lot of commendation on the fact that for the first time, the president is looking at solutions, CCTV cameras all over the nooks and crannies. We can continue to quantitate, complain, give, blames here and there from here till tomorrow. We've done that for the past 20 years. But what is important is to begin to encourage and push leadership to begin to bring out solutions that will lead the issues at the board. And that is why the issues of bringing in cameras is very, very important and commendable. The issues of getting the terror financing, the roots of it. Who are these terrorist financiers, for instance? What has been done to them? Has there been any arrests in the past? What should government be doing? Government should wake up and begin to look at such issues, because the issues of the challenges we face in the community will continue to be with us as we begin to find solutions to them. But the immediate solution that is begging for answer, where lives are involved, is the banditry and the attacks on the lives of people. And that is why government must be able to bring people to book. There must be arrests. There must be strategic steps like stressing who are the people fueling these terrorists. Because these guns cannot be picked on the roadside. The feeding of the terrorists in the forest, how do they feed? How do they get fuel to be able to fuel 100 bikes that move at the same time? Where did they get this? So the issue of terrorism financing is very, very key. And I believe it's an area where it will help to bring to an end these attacks that is trying to cripple the nation.
Right. Mr. Dati, I'm staying with you. How do you get this intelligence if people are not talking? We've talked about, aiding terrorism, apart from the sponsorship, because, for you to sponsor terrorism, you must have a lot of money. But the communities that are being attacked themselves, we've talked about how do they feed, how do they get fuel, how do they get intelligence, the terrorists themselves, about who to attack and when to attack, and helping them to exit and helping them to come in, as Mr. Adeye had suggested before. So if these communities are mute and they're not contributing to intelligence gathering, then how do we solve this problem from the smaller units of, overcoming the challenges before we get to the larger parts of, ending these issues altogether?
Well, I can tell you for free and for a fact that the communities, especially in Black schools, have been aiding and giving appropriate information, real time, to the security agencies. And these have helped to even stop quite a number of attacks that were impending in most of these communities. What is lacking is the distance between the, harvesting this security intelligence information and acting fast to be able to avert those attacks that are taking place. And that is where I think we need to do more hard work. The security agencies are doing a lot, and they have sacrificed a lot. I recall that in the past 1 week or 2 weeks, about a contingent of army personnel, including 3 senior officers, were ambushed on the road and killed by this insurgent. So the security agencies are also victims in this, and that is why there is a need, like the governor said, for collaboration across board. The security agencies, the community leaders, the traditional rulers, leaders of thought, to be able to come together and be able to ensure that we exterminate this malice that is growing, this headed attack that is threatening the unity of this country. And most times, unlike what you hear from outside, both Christians and Muslims are victims in this attack. But they try to push the narrative to begin to create a division and suspicion among the citizens. But we must come together as a country to ensure that these are criminals, these are bandits, these are people that do not mean the country any good. And that is why there must be unity of purpose, in ensuring that the communities continue to give vital intelligence to the security agencies, and then the security agencies to also be able to act on time, real time, to be able to nip this in the bud. We are happy that so far the security agencies who have also paid the supreme price are also not aligned to this attack. They have now become also victims, and that in itself has made them to be more spirited in their attacks and in their responses. And we believe that as we continue, we'll be able, but most stakeholders and most people believe that by the time you check at the source of the financing, because for instance, you kidnap people, you collect millions of naira, where is there's no market in the forest or in the bush. So where do you spend that money? Where do you get those arms? Where do you get those fuel to give the bandits who live in the forest to be able to come in and attack? How do they even get training on how to use sophisticated weapons? Those are areas, those are gaps.
There are very, very touching, words that we're hearing. Mr. Ade, if I can, quickly come to you.
The boldness to be able to operate even in the city centers.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. Let me ask Mr. Ade. So we're winding down gradually on this conversation, but there is definitely, from historical antecedents, there is a reading of political influence into all of these. There is no location in the country today, none, not a single place in the country today that does not have one political representative or the other. And I like to say that every Nigerian has at least 10 staff. Whether you have a job or not, you have 10 people working for you. You have the president, the vice president, you have a senator, you have a House of Representative member, you have a governor, you have a deputy governor, you have a House of Assembly member, you have a local government chairman, you have a local government vice chairman, you have a councillor. 10 all working for every Nigerian. Now, with all of these issues that we are having and all the challenges that are ongoing, do you see the political powers having enough influence on their people to rein them in? Because what I have observed over time and from my experience as a broadcaster is that these things happen before election. During elections, there is radio silence. After elections, maybe some radio silence, maybe for like a year or two, and then it resurges again. So what kind of conversation should the politicians or political leaders in each of these states be having among themselves on these issues?
Thank you. Let me start by a phrase that says, "He who pays the piper dictates the tune." Now, it is difficult for you to influence your people and the community if they have looked at you as an oppressor to them. For example, people in the rural areas, those who do not have access to health care, no access to good water to drink, no access. So they don't have hope that their future will be bright, like the life of the politicians' children from their community. And for this reason, they now make themselves available to certain criminal elements who says, take this 100,000, take these noodles, don't worry, give us a space in your house. When these people come around, we just quickly hide here. Please get us 20 liters of fuel. Maybe it's supposed to go for 20,000 naira. The bandits are ready to pay you 40,000 naira. So you now see a shift of alignment of people who should serve as informants to security agents to the criminals. Therefore, the politicians need to go back home. The first thing we need to do is to have proper censor of houses, shelter, whether made of wood or leaf or bricks. Know the number of people that are dwelling in a given place know what they do for a living. And I'll give you an instance. I once conducted a research in the Middle East, in Jordan, Israel, that area, and I found out that Israel was getting intelligence information from southern Lebanon. The people there gave them information that Hezbollah people, they are here, their rocket launcher is at so place, up to so river. So why do you think Israel is issuing evacuation orders in communities in Lebanon, places where you have high rises, beautiful houses? Someone gave them information that the people launching rockets, they are within us here. Please come here. This is where they are. And in order to keep the people alive, they now tell them, please, if you are not a criminal, leave that place. Whether that is right or wrong is a different ballgame. But I am saying that you need the people on ground to be part of security architecture. The Yoruba, we have a proverb. I don't know how to interpret it. Maybe Ayo, you can interpret. Tí ògiri ò bá lanu, alangba ò lè wọbẹ̀. So maybe you can best describe that to mean that if you don't have an internal enemies or collaborator to insecurity, you will not have people coming to attack you easily. There is other method of people having higher weapon, being able to just appear in the night and sack villages. That's one. But again, the two of us that are here with you this morning, we have all agreed, including you that are anchoring the program, that we need to find out the source of weapons. How are they getting fuel? By the time there is no food for a militant, he cannot go killing. Apart from that, they have drugs, Indian hemps, cocaine, marijuana, loud, all sorts of drugs that goes into them. If you are not high, how will you see a fellow human being and you are planning to slaughter him or her? So we need to deal with these sources, and the government should act. There should not be sacred cows among people that have been discovered to be funding terrorism in any form, funding banditry. Also, as election is coming, some individuals who know that they cannot win election, and I'm not particular about party now, they are already preparing human beings that they will use as thugs to thwart election. Can you imagine that? Some people, they have made up their mind that if I don't get it, then nobody gets it. And that by sacrificing human lives. Look at core members that will go for election. Many parents that are wealthy will not allow any of their children to participate because of fear of what can happen at the polling unit. Now, we need to identify, the DSS need to do a lot of work. What kind of communication? Let's decode the conversation of people who are fomenting troubles in the country. What type of messages are they sending? Where are they holding meetings? We must understand the various languages. If you are speaking in Fufude or Hausa or in the Bibio, in the Shekiri language, any language, Yoruba or Igbo, we should understand what you are saying at the dead of the night. The security agents need to infiltrate all political gatherings to get information. So why people are preparing and saying, okay, we've attacked this village today, let's go to that village tomorrow. So how do you get this thing quickly in the news? You see video of criminal activities being published on social media just to discredit the government or paint a picture that the country is not safe. I do not say that we don't have genuine terrorism coming from outside the country, but all the same, as a sovereign nation, we should be ready and be proud to serve our sovereign motherland. That's what is in the anthem. serving our sovereign motherland includes ensuring that you do not aid criminality in any form, whether during election, before election, or after the election. So I think we have a lot of work to do on intelligence gathering, ensuring that we know those that are in doing this. Who are the people who have petrol stations inside the bush or close to the bush where terrorists are located? And you know those that are buying the fuel. They are criminal elements. Who are the people cooking for them? But hey, again, before you tell somebody not to have economic life by sending food to terrorists, we must have alternatives for them. It's just like when you tell people, do not urinate in the public. Do you have public toilets for them? Because when somebody is pressed, he's not going to listen to anything you have written on the billboard out there. So we have work to do.
Absolutely.
A lot of work. A lot. Economic life of the people, we need to look into it. We need to look into communication.
There are actually a lot of things to deal with on this matter, because one of the things that's coming to my head is, well, while the federal government has its job cut out for it, the state governments also do have theirs. But we're completely out of time now. Mr. Datti, I'd like us to take your last words, Mr. Yakubu Datti, on this issue.
Well, the fact remains, and we must point the fact that as the elections approach, there are people who, with tendencies, who are caught up with the reality that they are going to lose elections, who are also planning these ambers across. And that is why government must also look inward into the actions, utterances, and fueling of these political actors who continue to fuel and create unease across the place. So that also is very, very important. You recall that the similar situation happened during the Jonathan era, where there was an upsurge of terrorism across the country, which ended up costing Jonathan the ticket for that year. And to some of us, to some analysts, we are beginning to see a new trend in that direction, where political jobbers are trying to use and promote insecurity. So the security agencies, apart from looking at the terrorists and the bandits and the attackers, must also begin to look at politically exposed people who have influence, especially now where even the religious leaders are coming into the fray of politics. So utterances who make utterances that create more tension should be invited to explain. And those are the other issues that will also help to address this issue, because there are people that are continuously fanning the embers of disunity, of destruction, empowering these bandits, and also sharing their victories even on the social media. That in itself is an area that we need to pay closer attention in order to lead peace in the bush. But by and large, we are happy in Plateau by the steps taken by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in matching action with words, by coming to ameliorate with the people, by taking actions that will create real-time images through the CCTV cameras, where evidences will be created and where it is easy for the security agencies to pursue. And on the last note, we want to also sympathize with the military and the security agencies who have lost lives in these attacks that have been ongoing. And we wish Nigeria success and hope that will overcome this challenge in our history.
I must thank you, gentlemen, for coming to talk about this dire situation, an important issue, the suggestions, and what is being done and what else should be done to nip it in the bud. Yakubu Datti, Chairman of the Governing Council of the Federal Polytechnic Ayede, your state, thank you so much for coming on. And also Mr. Gbenga Adeoye, President, Egba Economic Summit, lawyer, chartered accountant, and expert in criminology and security. That's an added one, so made it very apt for him to talk about this security in the nation. Thank you for coming on. And we'll be right back on the moment on Sunrise to take a look at some other important matters. And we'll be talking about Easter. Stay with us.